Welcome to the Screen Time Continuum. It's an awesome Wednesday out here. My name is Keelan, here with you as usual, right on the Screen Time Continuum. And as always, I'm here with Nick. What's going on, brother?
Hey man, happy Wednesday. I'm good. How are you?
I think I'm all right. I don't know. I had a really good workout the last couple of days. Working through somewhere between the heat and the I don't know. I know there's a lot going on as far as health in the world right now, but it's just like a mental malaise when this heat hits where you don't really know what to do and where to go. So I've been working through that, and it doesn't feel like Wednesday. It kind of feels like a Monday. And that's kind of where I'm getting at. Like it just feels like the week just started. And outside of that though, I mean I can say that's a pleasant feeling.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah, it has been hot, so I know the feeling. It's just I'm breaking a sweat just sitting in one place for too long. So yeah, I get it. And Dijon says, "Happy Hump Day." What's up, Dijon?
What up?
Miss you, man. We're gonna steal you at some point and get you on one of these. Make you
We've
make a
been
cameo at some point.
we've been plotting like Pinky in the Brain.
Yeah. But yeah, man, ready to review. I don't know what I just watched, but we're gonna talk
Oh
about it.
man, do tell. Definitely. We're here to review the 2019 movie Clemency. Clemency stars Alfre Woodard, uh, Aldous Hodge, Danielle Brooks, Wendell Pierce, Richard Schiff, Richard Gunn, LaMonica Garrett, and I want to say a couple of other notable names or notable faces at least. Vernie Watson, and I want to say there was at least one more notable person, someone or not notable but rememberable face. But either way, a mixture of familiar faces in this film here. This is a neon film, so it is. I've noticed we've been seeing a lot of neon productions lately. Um,
Just the last one.
I thought it was the last two.
Everything Everywhere is A24.
A24. Oh, okay, okay.
Hmm.
Right. And that is the same as Uncut Gems
Hmm.
and Hustle. Okay, right. Okay, sorry, got those mixed up. Um, you know what? Maybe let's scratch that. I'm not sure about Hustle. I'm just thinking as Adam Sandler. So here on Clemency, or here to Clemency. Clemency is a movie where Alfre Woodard plays a warden. The warden, her job is pretty much to ensure that the death penalty is carried out unless the governor sends down declares clemency upon someone, basically exempts them from being put to death. Um, that is the basis of this movie, and then it centers a guy whose name is Anthony Woods. Anthony Woods is serving 15 years on death row. He is approaching his death penalty, and yeah, we get to find out a little bit about him. We very vaguely, slowly, somehow put together what he did to get there, and yeah, we'll touch on that as we go. I'm not sure. I guess that's the best description I can give. I don't know if I can add anything else. Oh, we see how um, just carrying out 12 death penalties has taken a toll on the warden after her 12th one, the most recent, was pretty much a botched murder at this point. But yeah, that's the synopsis of this movie. Nick, what are your first impressions?
Man. Um, yeah, okay, so I didn't necessarily dislike the film. I feel like that's a something I can say right off of the get-go. But almost as well, this movie doesn't want you to like it. Um, or that, like it's so punishing that I can't imagine anybody being like, yeah, this is a really awesome, this is my favorite movie. Like I just don't know if it's one of those movies that you could enjoy watching, because I certainly didn't enjoy watching any of this. It was more like a sort of snuff film, um, with some moral commentary, which I think they did pretty well. Who's the main actress's name? Plays Bernadine?
Alfre Woodard.
Alfre Woodard. I think she did a fantastic job. I think the movie really is actually a character piece about her. I think Woods is sort of a bait and switch, um, and that you only find out at the end. Um, And the whole movie is sort of based around clemency, but we obviously see that that's not really anywhere in the movie. Um, so yeah, I mean, like as much as you can call something that is dreary, depressing, morose a good movie, then yeah, I could call it a good movie. I think it does well to sort of tackle the moral ambiguity of state sanctioned executions.
Yeah.
I think that it does a job about showing the horror show that would actually be. Because I think we think about it and we don't really picture that this person is, literally just waiting to die.
Right.
And I think this movie does a pretty good job about illustrating what that would be like. But I also think that it rushes over that in some aspects. And it's to me, it's something that The Green Mile does a little bit better. Um, in just more of you're getting to know the character that's about to die. I feel like this movie doesn't really tell you a whole lot about Woods' character. Um, and I think that they were trying to make a big point about, the death penalty. But I think they kind of took the easy way out by making Woods' character sort of ambiguous.
Hmm.
Um, I think that if you wanted to make a bigger statement about the death penalty, you would have had an unequivocally guilty person as that person instead of
Right.
somebody who possibly could be innocent, which illustrates more horror in the idea, obviously. But I just think it might have been a little bit more impactful to the story. But those are my first impressions. We can get into all the nitty gritty.
Right. Those are all mine, but I'm joking.
Yeah.
Um, no, I mean I'm right there with you. Except I would say the benefit of them making Woods the way he is was the adverse of what we can assume Victor Jimenez was. I think that was the reason for only getting say 30 seconds really or 2 minutes of that character. Was the paint like, oh yeah, he was for sure he was the worst of the worst, the kind of guy like you just described, the one that
Yeah, but we only see that his mother is crying for him in the
right.
beginning. So that's what I mean is like there is this other side to it where I think that the impact could have been bigger if we knew unequivocally that this individual did something terrible. And then you see the sides of the victim and the person who did it. You sort of see the sides of the parents, but by that time, the movie already tells you that he possibly is innocent. So
Right.
you're like, well, we don't care what you say because this guy's possibly innocent.
Yeah,
um,
fight all you want to.
yeah. So I think it takes like a really hard stance in that respect, but it's also kind of an easy stance because it's not recognizing the total nuance of the situation. Um, whereas it is tackling a lot of really interesting aspects to the moral ambiguity.
Right. For sure. This movie, I first want to say the same. I didn't dislike the movie. Um, but this movie strikes me as it was written as like an outline for a book that never got fleshed out, and then it turned into a screenplay.
I could see
Um,
that.
and that's not a bad thing. I mean, like there's some depth to the thoughts of the material. There's definitely, in my opinion, some attachment or some passion to the source. Like some real care about how the death penalty is carried out and the conditions in which uh, some of these human beings, because that's another thing we have to consider is, um, especially the people who are not involved with the person directly, be it family or in this the system itself. These people aren't human. They're not people. They're chattel, like in all senses of the word.
Hmm.
Uh, Legally, that's exactly what they are.
Yeah.
So I think that is something that this movie does try to give you some sense of how terrible it is, not just behind bars, but for every person involved, including the warden.
Hmm.
Like this has an effect on everybody. We saw the guy I would have expected. Well, I guess I'm past my first take at this point saying this, but the guy who I would have expected to be one of the strongest stand up type of a person's the major. He froze. He froze in practice. I mean,
Hmm.
so
Yeah,
I think
because
they
you're
hit it on
witnessing
target.
somebody die. I mean, like, yeah, that's the thing, and I think that this is a decent enough story, which, like, I don't know if I can really credit the movie all that much because it's taking an issue that's already very dense philosophically, and sort of just, showing you what that idea is. Um, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. There's a lot of things that I feel. First one, my question to you would be, I guess, is what governor stays in
Mm.
execution moments before somebody dies?
Um,
What kind? I mean, I know that that's like a trope that we hear all the time is like the governor could call at any second and give you pardon, but it's like, uh, what what asshole governor would wait until 59 seconds before you're dead to be like, "Oh, I changed my mind." Like,
I mean, I don't know. I don't. I'm not for sure, but I believe it may have happened at least once or twice throughout history.
maybe, maybe. Yeah. No, I think there's some moral philosophy questions about this type of stuff that it definitely raises. You The idea of property, like you brought up,
Mhm.
certainly plays a role. Also, just the cold calculating nature of it. If I think there's a best scene, it's the introduction scene.
Mhm.
I think it's horrifying. Um, and this movie is telling you, I'm sorry, you're not going to be comfortable 1 second in this movie. Either it's going to be something terrifying like watching a man die, by state sanctioned execution, or,
Which
you
the
know,
thought of that alone should be just unsettling.
oh, certainly. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then putting it to visual is definitely even more unsettling. And I don't know. I mean, I think that the movie also lacks. I mean, it suffers a little bit of melodrama. There are moments in this where I feel like the movie wants me to cry, but I'm not feeling the emotions it wants me to feel. Um, I don't know if you had that.
It's funny. I think around probably within the last 30 minutes of the movie, I started feeling that. Like, am I supposed to be feeling something right now? Genuinely, I had
Yeah,
that thought, and no.
yeah. So that's that's a bummer because I feel like, again, I don't want to compare it to the Green Mile or Shawshank or anything like that, but it is
But it
trying to
was
do the.
inspired by them very clearly.
Yeah, absolutely. It's doing trying to do the same thing. And I just think that there are more deep moments in those movies than in this one. I think the best acting honestly comes from our protagonist in Bernadine. I think she does
Right.
the best job by far. Um and she's very good at expressing the pain that she's feeling, as a warden who has to do this type of thing.
Right. And one thing I did mean to mention at the top is this is also an indie flick. So that was why the cast, like just the faces alone, is like, oh dang, I know this face. Oh dang, I know this face. Um, and it does seem like the director is the writer and the director of this film. Um, Alfred Woodard is one of the executive producers. So again, I it's very interesting because I would love to see this fleshed out like in a major distribution platform. Like to see, say like I'm gonna say it. Say like Miramax throw like 50 behind this. I
I
think
don't
we get
know,
a different
man.
product. Now,
Maybe. Yeah.
here. Mhm.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, I was gonna say I can't find. I meant to say couldn't find it earlier either. What this movie cost, but as an indie flick, it brought in 364,000 in the box office. So, I mean, I'm assuming this bankroll, this budget was probably around what it brung in. This is a buddy
No,
flick,
it's
so
got
to
to.
speak.
I'm sure it costs more than
No,
three
it
hundred
definitely
thousand
costs more, but
dollars.
what I mean is it'll never surpass that. Like it's gonna break even
Oh yeah,
at
yeah,
the end of time.
of course.
So this is more of a passion flick, like I was saying about the writing. Like clearly there's a level of attachment to it. And something that was touched on a lot in this movie was the notion of black fathers just being lost in the system and having no way out.
Hmm.
It's weird how they just would not say that out loud and play into that a little bit more. But
Yeah.
near the end they kind of went a little heavy so that you understood, like, oh no, this is about family and unity. Like, why didn't you tell me that at the beginning? I would have been paying more
Bruh,
attention.
bruh. You mean to tell me you're gonna tell this man he has a child the day before he's executed?
Oh man, yo, listen. What was Danielle Brooks' character's name? Yvette. Yvette ain't man. Listen,
Bruh.
nah. I don't want to see you. Don't come
Right.
talk to me. It's been
Right. 15
15
years.
years.
And you're just now going to reach out to me to tell me I
I
have a son right before I'm about to die? Are
I'm
you
gonna catch another
kidding me?
charge as soon as you step in this room.
Right.
Okay. I'm just
I can't believe how cold that was. And so that to me, like that was, that was the movie contriving a little bit of story to make the situation even more dire for our character, which I just didn't, I feel like that was tacked on
that,
because the son isn't even at the execution.
oh,
And
that should have been a first 30 minutes, first hour scene. Here's a
sure.
question.
Yeah.
While we're talking about that particular moment,
Hmm.
did she do the right thing, Yvette?
In what? Leaving him
It,
and not ever
yeah.
like,
Well,
well,
not the not telling him about his kid part, not that part,
okay.
but
So this is
leaving him
my,
to
right.
take care of, as she says, her kid and sacrificing everything.
Well, of course. I think there's a little bit of a wedge that they're trying to push there, um, in between some folks, for sure. But
Yeah.
you mean to tell me this man could possibly be innocent? Isn't she probably the one of the only people that knows if he was?
Listen, originally, I didn't think she was gonna say, "I don't feel sorry," and all the rant she went on. I thought the rant she went on was very interesting. Not typical of what I think you would expect in that scene.
Hmm.
However, um, I think it would have been interesting to just venture into, like, he don't care. You did what you wanted to do. All right, that's cool. So about this kid of mine,
Hmm.
like I'm not exactly sure. I thought they were gonna say, or he was trying to stop her from saying she's the one who shot the cop.
Right, right. It just doesn't make any sense to me why Yvette would not know that he's innocent. Why wouldn't she
I,
know that? If he's
I
innocent, I mean, like this movie is telling us that this guy's innocent, right?
Yeah, I
Am
think
I
it's not that she
mistaken?
knows. No, no, you're 1,000% right.
Okay.
I think they know he's innocent, but I think that was one of the points in the movie. Everything points to his innocent, but there's no evidence to exonerate him and incarcerate someone else.
At
So because
very
there's no body
least,
swap, there's no action.
I don't know if I buy it. Like, I know that this does happen and it has happened in the past. So I'm not saying that it's impossible, but I think that it's also like in the movie is like, giving you little tidbits like the radio recording that Bernadine was listening to about the new
Oh,
evidence that could exonerate him.
yeah.
If any attorney worth a damn would take that to an emergency appellate court and get a stay of execution while it's reviewed,
It's been thrown out of appellate court 3 times.
but not with that information, is it? Oh, maybe it is.
Apparently
I don't
so.
know.
I would assume so. If you're his lawyer and you're giving interviews on TV and on the radio and all these things about that exact information, you better have that submitted in court somewhere.
Yeah, they said 3 out of the 4 witnesses recanted their statements, and
Yeah,
like a majority of the jury didn't want to convict. So it's like
right.
I don't
Just
know
like
how
Amber
much.
Heard and Johnny Depp.
I guess if they're making, if I guess if they're trying to make a very loosely veiled point about the corruption of the system, that might have been better if they put a punctuation mark on that a little bit
I,
more.
I would have liked to see the lawyer in court or in an arbitration,
Right.
some kind of discussion, just going ape shit,
Right. Yeah,
just going
that would have been
off
good.
about, like, and that I think that actor, the way he was playing his character, oh, that would have been the cherry on top. Because I think he
Yeah.
did an excellent job. As trying to play that even keel.
Hmm.
Like, I know both sides of this, but like he told Bernadine at the bar, you know what side I'm on.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know how hard I'm gonna fight for my guys, but I also understand both sides of this. Your side ain't right.
Hmm.
So if he's gonna go that hard on the warden, we should see him talking to a prosecutor crazy, Maybe being held in contempt with a judge.
Yeah, or running through a courtroom with new evidence trying to
Hmm.
get to the judge, or something. I mean, I guess, but okay, but this is the problem, right? The movie doesn't want him to live.
Right,
So we can't do any of those things
right, right.
because Woods is actually just a bait and switch to all Woods is a narrative tool for Bernadine to finally break. That's
Yeah,
his function in this movie, and that's why he feels to me a little bit half baked, which is unfortunate because I think he could have done more with his character if given opportunity to.
right.
Um, but I think he really only served a function as to push Bernadine over the edge.
No, I 1,000% agree with that. Even when you think of the one of the descriptions I read for this movie, uh, explained it in terms of she is feeling remorseful for having committed these death penalty acts, and she has to get to know Woods, and that makes her, not want to murder him. That's not how this movie went at all.
No, it's definitely not. And that would have been a nice thing to do. Let them have a conversation,
Mhm.
something that makes her waver. That would have been so powerful. Except, I mean, like, I understand why Woods' character is silent because he's facing death, but
Strong man, strong black man.
strong black,
You ain't gonna break
stoic,
me.
silent. Yeah.
I ain't gonna do nothing. Not playing.
Right,
Um,
right. Um, but yeah, I don't know, man. Like, and that's the thing too. Is like if you're innocent, I don't know. I'd probably still be saying I was innocent every goddamn second. You know what I mean? Like every time that warden saw me, I would just be like, I didn't do this. You're
I
gonna
think there
kill
was a
me for
level,
nothing.
right. I think there was a level of acceptance in Wood that he still committed the crime that led to the murder.
Okay, I
But
guess.
only in Woods. That was never articulated or anything. But that's the
It
only
still doesn't
reason.
matter though if the crime if the sentence is for the murder, he didn't commit the murder. I don't. Yeah.
Oh, right. And I also, with you saying that, it made me think. I'm also, um, I have to mention, there's also that trope of, I ain't gonna snitch, bro. You didn't shoot. Why you ain't said no names, man? What
Somebody
the
was
hell is
there.
going on?
You don't got an alibi. You didn't have an alibi, so somebody was there. You
Something
were in the
happened.
wrong place, wrong
Now,
time.
I'm not saying. Now, let me be very, very clear. I'm
Mm.
not saying, go around just snitching all willy nilly, because that's not how life works.
No, no.
But well, and you know what? No, no, I'm out of line. I'm out of line because he was clearly about that street life because he was out there robbing. Yeah,
Right.
you got to follow code. You out there doing dirt. My bad. I'm out of line. Never mind. Back up. What
That's
were we
fair.
talking about?
Nothing. No, I get you. I definitely feel like there was a little bit of a lost opportunity with Woods' character, and in the idea that you could have made this a bit more nuanced of a story, had it been yes, he was guilty, but still he's a human being. You
I
know what I
think they
mean?
really tried to do that, and I don't want to say it was rushed, because this was originally a Sundance film, and for Sundance, and it's weird. When I remembered that, I think about 45 minutes in, I remember, wait, this was a Sundance flick. I actually was able to remove my critical mind a little bit, because Sundance flicks are always kind of
Oh, they're
space
indies.
pocketed out. Yeah, they're indie films, so there's always like space and pockets in between certain narratives. And what usually happens is when they get picked up, if they get picked up by a large enough company, usually, they're kind of reworked. So this, what, hour 52 we saw would have probably turned in 2:37 or something like that. And
Yeah.
that's not what we got.
Well,
We got, I believe, the
punishing.
original.
Don't do this to me, man.
It's like you have to break down, like, okay, why did it come out this way versus,
Yeah,
we,
I get you.
because I'm
Yeah.
thinking to myself, this is, again, I'm living in the mind that this is a passion project. Um, I guarantee if the director or who's also the writer was given, say, 3 extra months, not even more money, just 3 extra months, we'd have a little bit different of a movie
I don't know, man. I think that they got exactly what they wanted out of it. I don't know, maybe what you
for what
would
they were
think.
given.
Yeah, I think they got out what they wanted. This is another one of those like nihilistic things, right? I know my I get a little bit heated when we had a heated conversation last episode about about all of this stuff, and I do
Like,
get a
oh
little
yeah.
bit triggered by it because I hate cynicism and I think it's just so intellectually lazy. But I don't know, like this movie is pretty nihilistic, and I understand that it's making a point about the unfairness of life, but like this movie does not want you to be entertained by it. It doesn't want you to like it. Doesn't want you. It wants to lecture you. It wants to tell you something, and that's fine. But I also feel like there needs to be something that you can hold on to when you're trying to tell a story. And I don't know if there was anything for me.
I think this movie suffers and benefits from the same thing as the last movie we watched was called Pig.
Pig. Mhm.
Um, suffers and benefits from the same as Pig. They both have the exact same outcome. I want to say they're only a year or 2 years apart, and it's the indie flick that comes out near the end of the year with a very notable name in it. It is up for all these awards and or wins all of these awards. However, you have to question, was it the is it like the right place, right time type of a thing for the script, the screenwriter, the actor, etc., or did it simply get saved because we know that this actor can pull it off?
Or we know that this story is going to be festival bait.
That as well.
Because it's a heavy, sullen, dark movie that rich people like to watch because they live such lavish lives that they have to be reminded of pain and suffering, while us average working class folk know pain and suffering all too well and don't want to see it in our movies
Why?
because
Why?
we
Thank
use
you,
it
my
as
friend.
escapism.
True. Why? Thank you, my friend. I didn't know I had risen up in class so
Oh
much.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, well,
That was
you are
amazing to
rich
see.
at heart, my friend. You
I
are rich at
appreciate
heart.
that. Now, it's funny you say that because you remember when I chose this movie, how I was talking about having to watch it and do this episode. Like,
Mhm.
I was really like, man, if this movie is too heavy, it's gonna be hard for me.
Right. Yeah.
And ironically, I come out of the movie thinking it should have been heavier.
Yeah, I could probably agree with that. I feel like they did a little bit. I feel like there wasn't enough conflict, and not in the
Correct.
sense that it needs to be action or anything, but there just wasn't any conflict going on.
Yeah,
It
make
was
me see.
just like you were just slowly watching a man die. That's really all it was.
You know
And
what's funny? You say that. I
yeah.
think the it's we were slowly watching the warden die.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a parallel there for sure. I definitely see that, and I see where that's valid as well. And that's why I think that it's decent as a character study of the warden. In that element alone, I'm fine with it. I think then when you try to bring on all these other things, it becomes a little bit um I don't know. A bummer, man. It's a bummer. It's a huge bummer. And not that it isn't important to understand like these moral problems and
Mhm.
these social problems, because I think it is. Um but yeah, I mean, like, I don't know if you can say like that. I would feel weird saying like this is I enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, no, this gives me. I don't even want to say Saturday, TV vibe, Saturday afternoon vibes. This is 1 a.m. No, no, that sounds disrespectful, and I don't mean it in a disrespectful way. But this is that I don't have anything to watch. I don't want to laugh. I don't want to cry.
This is a movie you play for a criminal
A crowd.
justice class.
Oh, thank you. That's kind of
That's
what I'm
what
saying.
you
I'm like
do.
when you want to do like some thinking, but you don't want to do
Yes.
too much heavy lifting.
Yes, and then you have a discussion about it afterwards.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's where I see its value, in that it does make you think about these
Oh,
questions.
I see what you just did there. How to get
What's
away
that?
with murder.
How to get yeah. Right, exactly. There you go. Um, but I think that that's where the value of the movie is these philosophical questions about, well, whether it is moral or not to do things like this. Is it okay to end somebody's life who ended a life? And that's something we've been tackling with as humans for a very long time.
Probably since the
Um,
beginning of time, no?
definitely, yeah.
Executions are definitely not new.
No,
They're
sir.
a lot more civil. That's about all. Civilized, like
But
civil,
even in their
civilized.
civility, they're barbarian,
Oh
and I
my
think that
god.
that's where I took. That's the biggest takeaway I got from this movie is that in its dressings of civility, it's still a horrific barbaric process.
Oh, Ken, and I will say this time and time again. Lethal injection, I believe, is much more barbaric than hanging.
I kind of agree. It's much more barbaric than the firing squad too.
Oh, oh my God, much more barbaric than here. I don't even know how I did that. I started that. I know I did. Um, Someone asked me a question one day, and it was in regards to the death penalty, and it was literally the question of a firing squad or lethal injection, and I'm like, firing squad,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, no. I'm like, yes.
Mm.
Lethal injection is three different shots, and you feel all three of them begin to work. Well, I don't know that for sure, but I'm
Well,
sure
the
that
second one
has to be the case.
paralyzes you,
Yeah,
and
so
then
I'm sure
yeah,
you do.
yeah,
And here's why I have that assumption. I've been under anesthetics more than once. Not fun. Not a
no,
fun feeling. I
no,
promise you. Like, I don't care. Oh, it's painless. Yeah, sure, it's painless until it's not, because
right?
what it does to your psyche. Oh, hey,
Mm-hmm.
what? No,
Where
not
was I? Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Where was I? What did you do
yeah.
to me?
Right, right.
Um,
No,
but with
and
Fire
it's
Squad,
barbaric too in the fact that some people don't die.
well, no, exactly, and that's why it's barbaric, because it's no guarantee it's going to kill someone.
Right.
That little mini cocktail, if you have it in the too high of doses, you won't kill somebody. You'll just make them suffer really bad, and then they'll die. If you have it in
Hmm.
too low of a doses, they won't die. So,
Right.
firing squad. Now, if you have 10 people lined up, that's overkill. But
Only one of them has a bullet,
one
and
person,
they don't know. That's how they used to do firing squads. So they would have the captains load one gun, and then the rest with blanks, and then the people would fire because they couldn't do it if everybody had a bullet. They
oh,
weren't willing to shoot people if everybody had a bullet, so you never knew who had the actual the live round.
I like
Um,
that.
but you don't need that anymore. You got drones. You got drones. We don't even need the human element anymore for that.
Right. And essentially, and that's what I was gonna get at. Well, not necessarily the lack of the human element, but it's the one shot kill. That's why I'm actually glad you
Hmm.
mentioned that, because I didn't know that. But it's that. It's a
Hmm.
firing squad. It doesn't have to be a hell of bullets. That's for movies and entertainment. I don't believe anybody's putting someone down with a
Hmm.
bullet and they're wasting 99 other rounds when you only needed one.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because they only definitely had one. It's interesting because psychologically it helped that the people shoot the people because
Hmm.
everybody assumed that they didn't have the bullet.
Right. Now, in the real world, if we're asking, do you want the death penalty? Ask that question in the comments. Maybe we'll respond. Ha
No, yeah,
ha.
she's Louise. Like it's such a hard question, right? Because
So hard question.
and that's why I kind of wish that they did step it up with the nuance and have a perspective of the victims that
Hmm.
was legitimate. They had the parents of the cop that was killed,
Yeah.
but then the movie tells you, oh, well, he might be innocent. So disregard those people. They're not as emotionally weighty because they could be wrong.
Right.
Um, I think
Even
it
though
would have
they,
been,
they even wanted his child to be there, which was like, wait, so are you guys advocating for him, or you just want somebody in his family to suffer? Like,
yeah, I have no idea. That
that's
was
how
weird.
I took that as the mom. She was so hurt, she wanted someone in his family to suffer.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Because remember that statement, people like him don't usually have family that make it this far.
Right. No, I know. Yeah. Um, yeah, I think it would have been a better commentary about the real pitfalls of the death penalty if you had the perspective of a genuine victim,
Hmm.
that actually wanted to see this man put to justice.
You know what?
Um,
You said that just made me think. A lot of times with movies of this nature, we tend to find out later via interviews, you know, the type of homework that was done, the work that was put in, the consultation. I wonder if anyone that's actually involved in the death penalty process or the clemency process, and on that side, was involved in this movie.
Maybe. I'm sure there's consulting and stuff that goes on. And, I think the biggest argument is that I guess the biggest argument is the one that this movie is kind of making, although they don't definitively make it, is that there are people who have been killed by the state who were innocent
Hmm.
and did not deserve that. And that's not good, man. You can't have a society that does that, you
No,
know?
not at all.
Um, so yeah, there's a lot of deep stuff going on, but I do think that they were a little bit, they did handicap themselves just a tiny bit by not adding a little bit more nuance.
Hmm. Definitely. So let's see. Bernadine is the warden. She has a husband who's a high school teacher. She's just drifted away from him. He wants to work it out, but she's not really trying to do the work.
Mm-mm.
Later, it's like she's mad and trying to fight for him that he left, but she's not doing the work. I don't think there's much to talk about there. That's pretty clean and cut. Um,
No, and I think pretty much all of the other side characters fall flat, except for maybe the lawyer. Um,
well, for
you
sure,
know,
I think the lawyer's the
yeah,
only one that last, not last.
makes an impact on the story.
There you go.
Yeah.
I wanted to say lathers, and I'm like, he's not a shampoo.
I'm sure he uses shampoo, so it's all good. Um, yeah, I mean, I didn't know if the husband wife relationship was. I get it because it's supposed to demonstrate that she is sort of spiraling.
Hmm.
Um, but that's the thing is like sometimes movies do this where they're like, we have this idea and we're so singular about it that we're going to shape the story around this idea. And the idea was the idea of Bernadine, the character of her. They came out with this character. All right, now how do we color in this character? How do we, fill in this character and make it a living character? All right, let her have a husband that they're not, going well. And then he'll serve as a emphasis that she's losing her relationships.
Right.
Um, which is fine, but it's also like not organically telling a story. It's like this person exists to show you this, that person exists to show you that, and it's all just to serve this final scene, which the movie even just shows you the final scene is
Yep.
just her. And so
For a
it's
whole three
telling
movies.
you the rest of all of that really didn't matter. This is what you need to focus on, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I did that. I think I did like that though. That ending, the way even I'm sitting there like, yo, how long are we gonna stare at her face? And then you realize like, oh, she tapped out. Like,
Hmm.
okay, that was solid. I like that because we saw
Yeah.
it coming, but how was it gonna happen? I thought it was gonna be a little cheesier. But that was a solid way to depict how watching everybody else go through this and her really believing she was just stronger than everybody else and it wasn't gonna happen to her. Um,
This movie missed an inception moment.
hmm.
What it should have done is it had that long staring scene that she does, and then don't have her walk out, have the phone ring
Oh,
and cut to black. Boom.
oh, that would have been crazy.
Done. Done.
Oh,
That would have been the emotional punch, I think, in my opinion. That would have been the emotional punch that, and you don't have to tell the audience who's on the phone. It could be anybody.
you know
But
who's on the phone.
right. Exactly.
I would assume
Yeah.
it that would have been what we talking about right now. That'd have been 10 minutes right there. So who
Right.
you think was you think it was the governor? Nah, what if
Right.
it was Yvette? Why would Yvette be calling at this time? Because it's Yvette.
Mm. Right. Yeah, exactly. To make sure it was done.
Right? No,
Yeah.
auntie.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, there's not really much. Like I said,
Mm-mm.
she's married. Her husband. I thought there was something going on plausibly between her and the second in command. Come to find out, he really just admired her and looked up to her, which I thought was wholesome and I liked it. I hate that they always have to make some part in a movie where, the two characters in the movie, like, oh, they had a thing when the husband or the wife wasn't watching. Like, no,
Yeah, they were kind of alluding to that, huh?
it was nudging that way, and every time it was like, oh, I'm glad you guys are working it out, and it's like, bruh,
Are you though?
right? You don't look
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah. Could have
You know,
fooled me.
you look like she liked the way she pepper your steak, bruh.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, they were both. I mean, I get it. They were both very miserable with their jobs,
They
and
love the misery.
yeah, yeah. I think there was probably a lot more character development that was left on the cutting room floor. I'm sure there was a sort of love triangle, maybe um, that
I
they
think there was
tried.
in original writing or in context. Maybe it just wasn't fleshed out.
Yeah, I think that they it was probably fine to scrap that. That might have been too much, um, but yeah,
Something I also think would have been nice is after we saw Yvette going through that discussion of, your name's gonna live on and you are loved and I love you. I know you may not believe that and yada yada yada. It would have been really cool to see her out in the streets with the activists.
yeah, maybe.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah. Or maybe at least one time before before the day before he's about to be executed. That would have been
right? And then you just
nice.
ghost him. How you
Yeah.
how you pop up on somebody with that kind of business and then you ghost them? Like
And then you
she
go,
ain't no
right,
runner. She a
right,
bitch.
right. How are you going to tell him, I'll bring your son tomorrow, and then not bring your son
And I'm
for
sorry, and you can meet your son. Hey, now I'm gonna survive this lethal injection just for you, sweetheart.
and if I don't, I'm haunting your
Oh my
ass.
God. Do you know the type of energies I have been harvesting, hoping that they are right when they say, I'm gonna be the ghost of Nikola Tesla out this thing. I'm coming for
That's
you.
right. Yep. Yeah, I mean, it does to me speak a little bit more like a screenplay. I think it
Mhm.
moves a little bit more like a screenplay, so I could see where that plugs in with this movie. That being said, there isn't a whole lot going on. There are many scenes of just silence. That's the quietest jail I've ever heard. It's the quietest. It's amazing. How do they keep it so quiet in that jail?
Federal death row.
Is that they're so just not allowed to speak? I would feel like
Yeah.
all those lifers would be
Would
yelling
be
and
yelling.
screaming. Yeah.
And what I also found interesting, unlike most prison movies, they never gave a hint to where they were in the world.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too because yeah, I guess you probably can't because
Oh, you can. Everybody else does it, and that's why people are like, oh, this the prison they was talking about.
yeah, maybe, but I think it's also just you don't want to tie it to a specific state that might either say yes or no to the death penalty in the future, maybe.
Fair enough.
Um
If you had to guess, what state do you think they were in? I'm guessing Texas or Oklahoma.
yeah, let's see. Texas. I would say so. I mean, like it's got to be. I would say yeah, it's got to be like a middle state because it doesn't look too shabby. Like that's a very nice prison. It looked very nice. So yeah, I would say maybe Oklahoma is a good bet. Maybe like Kansas or something like that.
Hmm. Definitely not California.
Definitely not California. California doesn't do the death penalty anymore. I don't think.
Well, no, exactly why it's not California. I mean, they do
Mhm.
the death penalty. It's just called homelessness.
Well, yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, that's another that's another episode. I
um, but
don't
yeah,
know.
so
What else, man? Anything else?
Bernadine, she started feeling for Anthony's situation, but she never took the time to tell Anthony that, and I thought that was weird. Um,
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it makes sense for her character because she goes into that robot mode whenever she's about to kill somebody. So, like, she just
right,
turns the feelings off. That's how
right.
she deals with it.
Murder mode.
Right. Yeah. Murder mode. Yeah, I think what they were doing stylistically for both characters of Bernadine and Woods was okay, but it again it kept them from having a moment where they could actually communicate with each other,
Mhm.
which I think would have probably benefited the story quite a bit if they could actually had to have had a conversation together.
Yeah,
Um,
at least had a Hannibal and Clarice moment.
I mean, anything would have been nice. I know that they were very rigid about their characters, so there wasn't a whole lot of wiggle room with the range a character could be in.
Mhm. All right. But yeah, so they carry out the death penalty. Anthony is executed. Again, guys, there wasn't really everything was pretty straightforward. Like there's nothing to dissect or try to pry apart. If this movie were tiles on the floor, they would be pristine, pure white panels. Easy to read.
Hmm.
Easy to read. So with that being said, any final thoughts? Any other things you wanted to cover on this, Nick? I don't really have anything else.
I did like. There's one little thing that cinematically, storyboard wise, the movie does that I think is interesting, and it was so subtle that like I kind of wish that they would have done a little bit more with this. But every time you see a clock, it's actually an effect that happens with clocks with second hands, but it clicks back
Mm,
once and then starts clicking.
hmm.
It's like a visual phenomenon that happens whenever you look at a clock with a second hand. So the first time you look at it, it looks like it's clicking back one and then it starts clicking forward. They
Interesting.
managed to capture that in the shots, which was kind of cool because that sort of symbolizes the way time stands still when you're in those types of moments.
Right, it moves at its own pace, and it's definitely not the one you're used to.
Hmm.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
catch that at all. I will say I did enjoy the cinematography. I didn't think they were too shabby. It wasn't bad shot.
nothing
Poorly
worth
shot. Excuse
writing
me.
home
It wasn't
about.
poorly shot. Right.
Yeah. There was just weren't any visually appealing scenes, to be honest. It's not a whole lot. I think there was one silhouette scene of Woods where the bars were behind him, and then there was another series of bars that kind of looked cool the way it
Mhm.
was framed. But other than that, I
Oh, you
can't
know.
really remember any sort of framing.
Right. So yeah, with that being said, that is Clemency 2019 starring Alfre Woodard. Um, Definitely, I mean, hey, go check it out. It's on Hulu. Um, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So ratings. With that being said, I
Ratings.
give this a solid. Oh wait, did you want to go first?
No, go ahead, man. You
Yeah,
already
I give
have the momentum. Do it.
right. Do it. I give this a solid 7. Didn't hate it, didn't love it. I want to give it a 6.5. Um, but I don't know.
That's where I'm at, I
I,
think.
I think I liked it more than Pig. It's right. It's right in the same ballpark with Pig. I'll say it that way. It's the same plug as Pig. I wanted to give Pig a 7. I think I gave it a 6.5. I kind of want to
Mm.
give it a 6.5. I think I'm going to give it a 7.
Yeah, I think we can switch because I would probably watch Pig more, or I mean, I would watch Pig over this again. Um,
I agree with that.
but it's
Would agree.
Pig was its own thing. I do need to defend myself for a second about Pig. I know that my 7 may have come to some people's surprise when I gave it a 7 like that, but I wanted to mention that Mike and Keelan did give some pretty convincing arguments that helped me appreciate it just a little bit more. Also, I can recognize that a movie is decent and still not like it. I know that that's a little bit weird, but for me, that's the way I do this sort of system thing. Like, I don't like this movie, but I'm still going to give it a 6.5 because I recognize that it's doing certain things well.
Yeah.
Um, so,
I don't.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's weird, brother. Two things can be true.
Right.
Two things
Right.
can't be true. People need to
Absolutely.
understand
Yes, sir. Yeah, so 6.5 for me. I think it's not bad in any respect, but I just don't think that this movie wants you to enjoy it. And so I took I took the messages that were given to me, and I gave them some thought, and I enjoyed that it did make me think about those things a little bit more.
that.
Um, and again, the lead actress was very good.
Right. Mhm.
Um,
Most of the
very
awards went to her.
she did a fantastic job. I think this is a very good character piece for her. She did great acting with her eyes. So yeah, 6.5.
Right.
It's fine. It's a bummer, guys. So you got to be in the right headspace to want to appreciate a movie like this.
Right. I want to say that brings us to a 6.1.
Yeah, something around that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I also want to say I think it's hilarious when you keep saying that this movie doesn't want us to like it because I see nothing to disagree with there. It's just funny because I didn't think about it that way. Like you're not supposed
Yeah.
to enjoy it.
Yeah.
You're just supposed to get through it.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That this
It's
movie gives
it's
me all of that.
it's take your licking and learn your lesson. That's what that's what that is.
Now, and I will say this before we seg out. I do think it's also worth noting, even with movies like this, people watch this kind of material, this kind of content, and then they get all morbid and sad. Like it's still entertainment, so we should be able to laugh at what we thought was good and what we thought was poorly done about it.
Mm.
Um, and I think the content and the context of this movie versus our review, I think that's necessary, even though we're just being honest. But
Oh
I
yeah, I
think
mean, a certain level of gallows humor in this conversation was necessary because again, it's a major bummer of a movie. So yeah, if we're joking and stuff, it's merely because the context and the content of this movie is quite heavy on the soul, and sometimes you have to release that so that you don't become sad and sullen.
like Warden Williams.
Right, right.
All right. With that being said, guys, again, this was the review for Clemency 2019, currently showing on Hulu. By all means, go ahead, take out your pen and paper. I'm always going to tell you to do that because I don't know how everybody keeps notes. I know everybody doesn't use the note section in their phone. And when people tell me they do, I immediately know they're not taking down the information I'm giving them. So go ahead and break that little notepad out. All right, I gave you 2 downbeats. You'll be fine. So Screen Time Continuum will be here for you on Wednesdays and Sundays. Make sure you check us out, 8:30 p.m. That's going to be here for you again, Wednesdays, Sundays. Carry on to Thursdays. That's tomorrow. Thursdays and Tuesdays, the John is over on Twitch with Strawberries and Coffee. On Fridays, the XO Fathom will be right here for you. So on your way out, while you're going to hang out with your friends, maybe grab a few drinks. Maybe you're standing inside. Who knows? Again, with the way this weather's been, who knows what you're doing. But make sure on Friday you check out the XO Fathom that comes to you 8 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube as well. Saturday morning, this merry moment right there for you from 10 to 12. Catch us somewhere in between there. We're always trying to hit you early, but not too late into the afternoon. This way, when you hit the beach and you lose reception, you didn't miss anything we were talking about. Sundays, don't forget, Screen Time Continuum. We're here and we're there, always. Monday, take a break, give your ears a rest, process everything you heard from us. Because on Tuesday, coming right back at you, this merry moment is on Saturdays. If Numbers Could Talk on Tuesdays on YouTube and Facebook at 8 p.m. I'll be right there for you. And then Wednesdays, today, well, you already know where to be. We appreciate
go
you guys.
Around and around and around.
That's right. Hey, look, the carousel is working very well over here. So make sure you guys get a seat. For the Screen Time Continuum, I'm Keelan.
I'm Nick.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Good night.
Oh, that's the perfect one.